Thank you very much for that kind introduction. I don't get to do these keynotes very often, so I was thrilled at the opportunity to get to come out and speak. And I was really excited to get home and tell my wife. So after I got the invitation, I go home, put my things down, track down my wife in the backyard, and I said, honey, you'll never guess what happened today. I was invited to come give the keynote speech at the senior NCO induction ceremony. And she said, oh my goodness, did someone cancel at the last minute? And I said, well, honey, I don't know, but I'm like, I don't care. I mean, I'm still excited to come do it, you know? And she looked at me the way that only a wife of 30 years can, and she said, well, what are you going to talk about? And so we're going to celebrate you, the inductees, your families, and then I'll give you a few thoughts on kind of the transition of leadership at this point in your career. So, to start off with, congratulations. Promotion to senior NCO is a huge career milestone and really demonstrates the trust that this great institution, the Air Force, has placed in your ability to lead at the next level. It is also intensely competitive. This year, the selection rate was like 14%. So think about that. Out of every 100 people that were eligible to meet the board, only 14 were selected. So to all the sons, daughters, spouses, mothers, fathers, brothers, sisters who are here, your family member is a big deal. They have clearly passed the test of leadership in the Air Force, and you can rightly be proud of everything that they've accomplished. But you're also a big deal too. It takes a special kind of person to follow someone who's been called into service in the military. The selflessness and courage that you show to put up with transitions to places that you've never been before, setting up new family structures, and dealing with long separations is honorable and very admirable. You're a pretty diverse group. We've got testers, we've got security forces, civil engineering, force and operations support, medical, communications, and maintenance and logistics. So pretty diverse group. There you go. I knew some of that was going to come out. That's good. So let's shift gears a little bit. Let's talk about, from a leadership perspective, what changes as you move up into new levels of responsibility. I'm just curious, of the inductees, how many of you have had a mentor that's kind of pulled you aside and said, hey, let's talk a little bit about what this means, this transition in your career? Okay, awesome. That's great. Yeah, I was fortunate to have a couple of those people pull me aside too. So Simon Sinek, who's a well-known thought leader on leadership, described this transition this way. He said, being a middle manager is the toughest job in the world. When you're junior, your only job is to do your job. And when you're senior, you're worried about strategic issues. Most things break in the middle where we don't train people to lead. And when asked, what kind of leader should you try to be in that role, he said, be the leader that you wish you had. There was also a Harvard Business Review article that I read recently that explained that the reason that most middle managers are so exhausted is that they're simultaneously the victims and the carriers of change. And that's very true, right? You're subject to all the changes that are coming down, and you're also the ones that have to take them forward. So by all accounts, you're about to step into roles that are very important, but are also very difficult and very different from the ones that you've done and been so successful in previously. So I just want to take a few minutes to talk about how the interactions that you have with the organization change in three directions: up and out, across the enterprise, and then down and in. And my hope is that you'll take some of these nuggets away and think a little bit more about, how do you need to grow as a leader? So let's start with up and out. Remember all the times when you said, hey, this is broken, and they should go fix that. Well, guess what? Now you are they, right? You're the people that everyone in the organization is looking to go solve problems. And when something negatively impacts your airmen, they expect you to speak up and get things fixed. And that can be really hard to do. It can be especially hard if What is broken is something that the boss did unintentionally that everyone's upset about, right? So how do you deal with those, and how do you make good on your commitment to your troops to be the one to go speak up and speak on their behalf? Well, one approach to it is just to flip things around and switch from the mindset that, hey, I've got bad news I got to throw on the boss's desk, to this is a problem that I'm going to go solve with him. And say, hey, boss, I know everyone's upset about this, and I've been thinking about it. I'd love to get your thoughts, and let's go solve this problem together. So find a respectful, collaborative way to deliver the truth, honor your responsibilities to your troops, and work with your boss to solve the problems. All right, now let's switch gears to across the enterprise. So leading at the next level involves building partnerships and viewing success from an enterprise perspective, which is probably a little different than you might have seen before. In your previous roles, you're probably able to achieve most of your goals more or less on your own. You may not have even needed the people around you, or if you did, you only needed them in a transactional way, right? As long as they did their job, got you what you needed, then you could succeed. As your span of responsibility increases, success is much more of a team sport, and you have to learn how to persuade your colleagues in order to scale up the impact that you can have on the success of the organization. The excellent book, Lincoln on Leadership, which I'm sure a lot of you have read, provides some fantastic insight into the former president's how he used persuasion to expand his influence and achieve the nation's goals. Lincoln's mastery of persuasion reveals a critical insight into what made him so successful. He understood human nature very well, and he used his understanding of human nature to persuade people and build relationships that helped him to achieve his goals. He often used questions and suggestions instead of statements and orders to persuade. A great example of this is in a letter he wrote to General Banks. He said, frame orders and fix times and places for this and that according to your own judgment. So basically, do what you think is best. And I love that phrase, for this and that. You can almost see the president sitting in his office, quill pen in hand, inkwell, saying, frame orders and fix times and places. What am I trying to get at here? For this and that. That kind of covers it, right? So, but Lincoln understood himself, and he understood human behavior. He was comfortable in his own skin, and you could even say he had mastery of himself, and he understood human behavior, and he used that to effectively build partnerships and use persuasion. And that's the same thing that you'll be doing through a network of your peers. And you can start networking right here, right? You've got something in common now with a whole set of people who have been inducted as senior NCOs alongside you. So where are the civil engineers, civil engineering folks? They absent? I remember hearing some of them. Well, the civil engineers, they can build bridges, they can build office extensions, they can put a hot tub on your roof. So they can handle all that stuff. So seek them out and use them appropriately. How about the testers? Testers? Yeah. Everyone left right before I started talking. That was maybe a good call. They're a little shy. So testers, near and dear to my heart. If you need to know if something works right, they're the folks to call. And finally, now I know this crowd is not going to be quiet, the maintainers. There we go. That's what I expected. Hey, these folks can fix anything, right? Flat tire on your way home, office coffee maker on the fritz. They've got so many tools, they need a crib to hold them all. So anyway, the point here is expand your ability to build partnerships and persuade the folks that are across the enterprise from you, and it'll help you help your organization succeed. All right, so finally, down and in. Your interactions down and in to the organization are probably the most important, but they're also the ones that are most peppered with landmines because of where you came from. Your drive for achievement is a huge part of why you are where you are today, part of that 14%. You all love setting goals and meeting or exceeding them. And as you move to the next level of leadership, there's an increasing need to shift your focus to empowering others and pull them into the spotlight as you step out of the spotlight and help them succeed. To use a sports analogy, this is kind of like the transition between being a player and a coach. In fact, in a lot of ways, our sports counterparts have an advantage over us. When you move from being a player to a coach in sports, you can't play anymore, right? We don't have that barrier in our profession. And so it's very tempting to go back from being a coach to being a player. And you can all kind of imagine what would happen if, on NFL game day, the coach tried to suit up and go back out. So resisting this temptation is really difficult, and it takes a lot of focused effort. But it's really important to, again, expand your ability to influence the organization and help those below you step into the spotlight and recognize their achievements. People who don't do this, and I know a guy who didn't do this at one point, tend to burn out because now you've got a lot broader span of responsibility, a lot more workload, and so when you revert back to doing things on your own, then you get overloaded, get burnt out, and fail. So don't do that. So find a way to empower others to succeed and resist that tendency to revert back to being an individual player. And then finally, the other big thing that I think that everyone's pretty aware of is that you're no longer one of the gang. And the example that you set is paramount. You'll never have time to get around and talk to every single person that's out in the workplace, but every single person will be influenced by the example that you set. And so it's important that you set the right example. So the bottom line is, down and in, no matter what your AFSC is, your profession is people. People who come from all backgrounds, all hopes and fears, strengths and weaknesses. Your job is to learn what their intricacies are and find a place where they can thrive, and then coach them to meet their potential. So in conclusion, I hope I've given you some thoughts on how you need to grow as a leader. Obviously, we didn't cover it all tonight, but hope I gave you a couple things to take away. Organizations succeed or fail based on the strength of their leadership, and the jobs that you do are too important to fail. So congratulations to you and your families, and Godspeed on the exciting adventures that are in front of you. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Boer.
Attaching chevrons to the military uniform dates back as far as 1821. The practice of officers wearing chevrons lasted only a few short years and were phased out by 1829. Our own Air Force chevrons began with General Vandenberg. In March of 1948, General Vandenberg, the Air Force Chief of Staff, approved the very first enlisted chevrons.
One theory behind the design of the chevron is the stripes might have been trying to combine the shoulder patch worn by members of the Army Air Force during World War II and the insignia used on aircraft. The patch featured wings with a pierced star in the center, while the aircraft insignia was a star with 2 bars. The stripes could be the bars from the aircraft insignia slanted gracefully upward to suggest wings. The silver gray color contrasts with the blue uniform and may suggest clouds against the blue sky. However, there is no definitive explanation as for the design.
And just 2 years later, on February 20th, 1950, General Vandenberg directed the term airman would be used for all enlisted persons in the Air Force to differentiate them from our soldiers and our sailors. The revision to the Air Force Regulation 39-36 on April 24th, 1952 finally gave the Air Force its own enlisted structure. The highest rank under the new structure was Master Sergeant. The Military Pay Act of 1958 added to the enlisted structure for all services at senior grades of E8 and E9, thus establishing our top 3 that we know it today.
However, we would wait until 1991 for the Master Sergeant chevrons to be updated to the version you see here tonight. General McPeak and Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force, Finkston, would propose moving one of the stripes from the bottom of the Master Sergeant, Senior Master Sergeant, Chief Master Sergeant, and the Chief Master Sergeant of the Air Force chevrons, and placing it at the top. This transition would unify the look of the senior NCO Corps used in today's Air Force and Space Force.
Inductees, please stand. This senior NCO Corps carries significant increased responsibilities and requires a broad technical and managerial perspective. Each promotion within the enlisted ranks is a significant step in one's career. However, no step is as significant as the one that takes the NCOs into the senior non-commissioned officer tier. It is with great pleasure that those present welcome you in these positions of elevated authority, responsibility, and capability on behalf of the great Air Force and Space Force. As a member of this elite group, you have been and will be charged with the responsibility to your fellow senior non-commissioned officers, even as they have responsibility to you. Do you accept this responsibility levied upon you?
I accept.
Then prepare for your recognition.
Tonight, we honor the newest group of senior non-commissioned officers to have the honor of wearing the Master Sergeant chevrons. Colonel Caspers and Chief Master Sergeant Ward Swanigan, would you please come forward to present our inductees with their recognition certificates? Ladies and gentlemen, as the names are called, please feel free to show your support.
Inductees, please form your line to the side of the stage. Help together. Coming to our stage, Master Sergeant Select Timothy Anderson.
Master Sergeant Select Kenneth Austin.
Master Sergeant Select Christopher Beck.
Master Sergeant Select Idris Bias.
Master Sergeant Select Corinne Cannellan.
Master Sergeant Select Erica Giese.
Master Sergeant Select Stephanie Hill.
Proud to be
Master Sergeant Select Jordan Lewis.
Master Sergeant Robert Mason.
Master Sergeant Select Mark Moser.
Master Sergeant Select Christopher Orsi.
Master Sergeant Select Ryan Smith.
Master Sergeant Select Emily Solario.
Master Sergeant Select Kristen Winnenberg.
Thank you, Colonel Caspers and Chief Master Sergeant Ward Swanigan. Colonel Caspers, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Master Sergeant Sipos. Good evening, and behalf on Brigadier General Matt Heiger, thanks for attending and supporting all of our tonight's inductees. Thanks especially to our distinguished guests for their support, General Durteen, Chief Weiser, and Chief Ward Swanigan, and of course, Mr. Bohr. It's going to be hard to call you Mr. Bohr. But Scope, it's great to see you again and work with you again, and frankly, it was really awesome to hear your words to our inductees again here tonight. And of course, thank you all to the commanders, directors, chiefs, supervisors, families who are here to support our newest senior NCOs. This has been an awesome celebration. It's been a fun party and a great way to mark this massive and very important milestone in the careers of our new inductees. Thanks very much to the club, to multimedia, to be able to bring us the photographs as well as the virtual and the recording. Thanks to Master Sergeant Cox, Master Sergeant White, Master Sergeant Sipos, and Master Sergeant Ellis, and all the others who have helped pull all of this together, both the seminar earlier this week, but also this awesome celebration so that we can mark this very important occasion. I'd also like to take a moment to recognize all of the spouses, partners, families of our newest senior NCOs. Thank you, thank you, thank you for all of your support and dedication and understanding that you've given to these inductees here over the years. Thank you very much also in advance for the support that I know you're going to provide them as well going forward as they assume new leadership roles and take on ever more demanding responsibilities in service to our nation's security. Military service is a family endeavor, and no matter the size or shape of the family, whether husbands, wives, mill to mill, moms, dads, kids, brothers, sisters, or close friends, your support, sacrifice, and compassion is invaluable and deserves recognition. To our inductees, I hope that you enjoyed this week of dedicated space to deliberately work on your professional development and prepare yourself for the road ahead. I hope you've learned from each other and added fruitful new relations to your network. I hope you've gained new perspectives from teammates across the enterprise with experiences that are different from yours, and perhaps even considered adding and adopting some of their ideas and techniques to your practice of leadership. On Monday, Chief Ward Swanigan and I were invited to open the seminar with a conversation with the new inductees and expectation for Team Edwards for those senior NCOs that were inducted here tonight. We covered a lot of ground in a very short period of time on a lot of topics ranging from integrity and speaking truth to power to evals and to housing. I really enjoyed spending that time with you and hearing your thoughts about leadership and mentorship. I frankly learned a lot from you about what it means to take care of our airmen, about what it means to serve here at Edwards Air Force Base. I was impressed by your willingness to dive into the deep end on challenging topics facing our airmen, our community, and our nation. It reminded me again, though, why the United States is going to prevail. As we compete with our adversaries, it is the dedication of leaders like you, our newest senior NCO inductees, that are going to carry the day. While our adversaries continue to try to match our strengths and copy our methods, they cannot copy your grit, trust, and professionalism. Thank you again for the opportunity to spend the time with you this week and to speak here again. It has been a real honor getting to meet each and every one of you and speak with you. And on behalf of Brigadier General Higer, congratulations again on this momentous occasion, and I look forward to working with you over the next couple of years. Thank you, and I hope that we continue the great celebration here for the rest of the evening. So.
Thank you, Colonel Kaspers.
We would like to take a moment to thank Club Muroc for its wonderful meal provided this evening. We would also like to thank the SWORD team member, the Edwards Top 3, Master Sergeant White, for stepping up and helping host this entire event. Without their dedication and hard work, tonight's event would not be possible.
Inductees, please come forward to form the receiving line and affirm the senior non-commissioned officer charge.
While our inductees are forming a line in front of the stage, Chief Master Sergeant Ward Swanigan, will you please come forward to read the charge? Team Edwards senior non-commissioned officers, please stand to join our newest senior NCO inductees in the affirming of the charge.
So before I read the charge, I would like to say, Mr. Boer, you were definitely speaking my language. I feel like we've had some of the same mentors. I know we've read some of the same books, and I feel like our inductees might feel that I paid you to validate some of the points that I was trying to make this week. Thank you for coming to impart some of your words of wisdom as a former leader in our Air Force, and we really appreciate what you did there. Inductees, don't worry about being relevant. Don't worry about being ready. Just be relevant. And now, as we move into the charge, you are charged to hold allegiance to your country, devotion to duty, and personal integrity above all. You are charged with wearing your rank of authority with dignity to promote the highest standards of conduct, appearance, and performance by setting the example. You are charged to seek no favors because of your rank. You are charged to be devoted to the concept of service rather than personal gain. You are charged to uphold the traditions of senior non-commissioned officers who have preceded you. You are charged to manage the resources under your control with astute efficiency and lead the way with the highest level of competence. You are charged to always strive to merit the respect of your fellow senior non-commissioned officers and of all with whom you have come in contact. Do you accept this charge? I accept. Awesome. Congratulations.
Thank you, Chief. Ladies and gentlemen, please stand as our inductees lead us in the recital of the Airman's Creed.
Ladies and gentlemen, this concludes our ceremony. We invite you all to congratulate our newest inductees. Please follow tonight's host, then the group and squadron commanders in the receiving line. On behalf of the top three, we would like to wish you all a safe and pleasant evening.